Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rushda Dixon Vixen reporting to you. I want to apologize for the abrupt ending last night of The Walking Dead because of the mid-season finale shocker. Because I was in literal shock to what has happened, but I want to discuss that with you. I want to know what you guys really think about it. To me, I don't know. It's like a big betrayal. It's like someone you want something that you look forward to, but then all of a sudden they pull the rug out right in front of you. And though I have a mixture of feelings, hurt, confused, angry, sad, heartbroken. I just don't know why Scott Gimple would do that. Because I know the ratings of The Walking Dead have been declining for some time because of departing people, actors departing the show. It happens, and I realized, like, when I was watching the show, like, nobody is safe, no actor is safe on The Walking Dead. And you can't be on that show forever because you want to move on to other projects, and but you'll always have us be a part of the Walking Dead family. So eventually, Michael Kudlitz and Stephen Yoon left. It was pretty sad, but it had to be because they're both moving on to other projects, but they're always they'll always have their fans and their family. But eventually, Stephen Yoon is doing very well in his career. He was in two movies, one called Yoka Okya and Mayhem, and he's set to do other projects as well, which is awesome. So, and Michael Kudlitz, he's got some projects on the go. So eventually, and Sonika Martin Green, who played Sasha on the show, she moved on to Star Trek Discovery, which is doing quite well, and she's doing great for herself. Like some people's whose whose time on The Walking Dead ended, moved on to other things. Like John Bernthal, who plays Shane Walsh, is now the Punisher, and he did a lot of movies. Laurie Holden, who played Andrea, she's on a show called The Americans. And Scott Wilson did a show called The OA. And Emily Kinney was casted in 10 Days in the Valley and made guest appearances on several TV shows. Alexander Breckenridge, who was Jesse, is now on This Is Us. And Sarah Wayne Callies, who played Laurie, is now on a show called Colony. So, and Jeffrey DeMond, he moved on to other projects too. So I think he's on a show called Billions. So eventually, like Michael Rooker, he moved on to Guardians of the Galaxy. So eventually, a lot of the actors who moved on from The Walking Dead really done well for themselves. And for Chandler Riggs, aka spoiler alert, Carl, I didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming. Because I thought Carl was going to survive until the end of the show, end of the series, but eventually we were blindsided. I figure out I never didn't even know Carl got bit. Like I think I realized Carl was bit when he was fighting off the saviors while trying to get Sadiq into safety, but eventually I thought he had blood all over him from the bleeding from the cow, from the deer or something like that. So eventually, okay, he's okay. And eventually, but in the ending, like him and he did this confrontation about Tanique, and says, if you want to kill someone, kill me. Kill me. I'll do it to save my father, my dad, my little sister, and all that. But eventually, Carl usually always had the plans. So eventually, when he was watching Alexandria getting blown up, and so eventually, like, he wrote a letter to his dad and saying, why are you writing a letter? What the hell's going on? So eventually he said, like, in case anything happens to him, look after Judith or something like that. So eventually he was going to go down the sewer, but Michonne stopped him and realized they were talking, and then that's when all hell broke loose. And then I loved it when Carla grabbed like he says, we got to head out tonight. They can take this place. We have to survive tonight. So eventually he had these smoke bombs, throws them away, disappears under the sewer. And eventually they all went down the sewer. Michonne went out looking for Rick, and Rick was fighting with Negan at their house. So eventually Rick and as soon as Michonne and Rick reunited, they say, where are they? And so they went down the sewer, and everyone was down there. And then that's when the music hits, and including Judith, who was being held by Daryl, and Daryl getting his vest back from Dwight. Thank you. Yeah, it was like, I can't wait when Daryl finds that he left a pack of cigarettes and a couple and his wedding rings in the coat. That'll give him a sign. Maybe he'll give one of the rings to Carol. So eventually we'll see how it plays out. And when Rick sees Sadiq, Carl says, I brought him here. And then he was lying there like he was like sweating like crazy. I'm like, what? Like crazy. And he was like, looked really weak. And all of a sudden I said, oh, no. And he said, that's what happened. So eventually Rick and Michonne were looking at him. Carl lifted up his shirt. He had a bandage on. He took out the bandage, and it was a walker bite. And I was just blown away. I was shooken up. That's why I abruptly finished my live video blog yesterday. So I watched Talking Dead before that. I was not in my own mind. Eventually, they don't know, Chandler is going to be on Talking Dead after the mid-season premiere, which is happening on February 25th for a change, because it usually comes back right after the Super Bowl. So eventually, we don't know what's going to happen. Scott Gimple confirmed, and they said Carl may be dead, but his story's not over yet. They have they have an episode which they all say goodbye. Let's say their goodbyes, and he wants to go out in a positive way. So eventually Chandler, he signed a 3-year contract. He just bought a house in Sonoya. He was going to take a gap year from college to focus on his career in music, to focus on The Walking Dead in his career. But he was told in season 6 that he was going to get killed off. He was the next to go. And then Chandler didn't want to go, but eventually his parents were like stunned, blown away, devastated. Like, it was his home for the past almost 8 years. And then to go out like that, it's heartbreaking. But Chandler's father was not happy about it. Like, eventually, and he says it was due to story-wise, that's why people go. But eventually, Chandler wrote a letter to the Spoiling Dead fans and thanking the fans, saying he will talk about this later, but eventually, right now, he's going to be focusing on his career. He's 18 years old, and he's been on that show for years, and people don't want to know him as he does. I'm sure he doesn't want to be known as Carl, the person who always gets Coral for the rest of his life. Like, he's more than Carl Grimes. He's Chandler Riggs, and he wants to be known as a serious actor, not as Carl Grimes, the Rick Grimes' kid on The Walking Dead. So eventually, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I wish Chandler well in his future endeavors, and I look forward to his final episode. To say why the purpose of why they killed him off. But eventually, I'm sure a lot of the Walking Dead cast is really upset about it. It was devastating. Like, even Stephen Yeun's departure, which he was there since the beginning, he he wanted his death to wanted his comic book death to happen to him. But so eventually it was the I think Steven went out in a good way. So because these I finally realized after years of watching watching the show for the past 3 or 4 years, I realized that no actor on The Walking Dead is safe. Like you enjoy your time on the show, you're part of the family, then one day you get the call and say you're next to go, and it shocks you, and the actors don't have any control over it whatsoever. And I know the ratings decline it's like it's expected, like it's The Walking Dead, like anything can happen. You can go at any time. You can, like, it's about surviving. And like we have to, like, if you grow, like we feel like we've grown attached to these characters. Like we've all grown attached to Carl since the beginning. But eventually that's what happens when you have hope for this character, then it all got taken away from you. It really affects you. And that's why, like, today I was like sad, still sad, but eventually PTSD is hitting me right now. So eventually this is my only day off from work, so I gotta make the best of it. So, and eventually and I'm sick and tired of all these haters saying no wonder your rating is going down. I'm done with the show. Blah 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 blah. I'm glad Carl's dead. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay, come on, whiners. Stop it. This is a television show, for God's sakes. It's not real life. There has to be a reason for it. And there's hope. There's always is hope. We have a lot of true fans. Like, if you don't watch it anymore because a certain character is dead, is gone from the show, then you're not a true fan at all. Like, I continue to watch when Glenn and Abraham were killed off. I continue to watch. I still continue to watch when such and such got killed off. Like when I was watching Law and Order, one of my favorite shows is Law and Order. Like, it went on for 20 years and they kept rotating actors, and I was still a loyal fan. I still watched it I still watch it. And SVU, when Christopher Maloney, when Stabler left the show, and Benson took on the leading role, I stuck around. Like, I stayed, and eventually some shows changed. Like, eventually, like, true fans really stick to the show. Like, and so, like, I'm sure all the Walking Dead fans will, we will all come together and we will get through this. I think during the hiatus, it will give us time to process what happened. So when the mid-season arrived when the mid-season comes in February, we will get a better understanding on how it happens. It's like a tragedy when a loved one is gone unexpectedly. Like, life is too short. Excuse me. Like when I lost my stepbrother in 1989, I realized I knew nobody can live forever. And I'm 45 years old now. I had unfortunate circumstances happen to me 6 years ago, and I got with strength and power and strength and prayer, I got through it, and we are going to get through this. All true fans, we are going to get through this together. And although The Walking Dead has not been renewed for season 9, like rumors, they keep saying, cancel the show. It's over. Cancel it now that Carl's dead. Come on. Like, I'm sure they have material written for season 9 and 10. Like, if AMC wants to cancel the show, why didn't they just give them a heads up? And I hope for a season 9. But eventually, I hope AMC will. I'm sure AMC will not cancel The Walking Dead because it's not in the show's control. It's not in a fan's control. It's in the. I have to learn to take things that you can't have control over, like all the actors on the show. It's when they announce that it's your time to go. It wasn't in their, it's not in their control. It's in the writer's, it's in Gimple's control. It's in AMC's control. So eventually, like, if they decide to cancel The Walking Dead, like, I'm gonna be okay. I'll be okay with it. But at least shows, all good shows must come to an end. Shows will end eventually. Like, they can't last forever. Like, great shows like Mary Tyler Moore, Seinfeld, Breaking Bad, MASH, Cheers, all those shows which were very well done. Eventually, their shows came to an end, like, for a good reason, like, because they just don't want to drag on and on, like Beverly Hills 90210. Now that went for 10 years, which was kind of crazy. And Melrose Place, which I loved, lasted for 7 seasons, which is good. And eventually ER lasted 14 seasons, and my all-time favorite show, Law and Order, went for 20 seasons, which is amazing. And SVU is now in its 19th season, so we'll see how long it's going to go for. So eventually, some shows can survive, and some say, we want to go out. We want to end the show. And that's okay with them, because I feel the actors are tired and they want to move on to other things. And because they just don't want to be labeled or typecast when they go out for auditions. So eventually, we will see what happens. Like, is AMC going to cancel The Walking Dead? We don't know. I don't even know. But it's a wait and see. And do you think Scott Gimple should be fired from showrunner and be replaced with a new showrunner? Yes, I agree. Like the saying says, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, like, it's the advice. Like, I hope to God, I pray to Scott Gimple, I hope he knows what he's doing. Because if he wants to run that show to the ground, he would have done that a long time ago. So, eventually, we'll see where Gimple goes from there. So, eventually, that is it for me. Like, that's the reason why I'm doing this updated video vlog, to say I apologize for ending the video abruptly, saying, because I was out of sorts, I was in shock. So if you have any questions or concerns about my talk today or the mid-season finale last night, please feel free to subscribe or comment on my blog. But please be respectful, and I don't want any bashing or negativity, because that's something us true fans cannot handle. So in closing, I may come back time to time to do some do some vlogs for you and talk about things all Walking Dead related. So eventually, I want to wish the whole Walking Dead cast and universe and fans a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year. And we will get through this till February. We will stand together. We are one. We are strong. We roll on with the punches. We move on. We step forward. We don't mourn the dead. Like with Carl, if Carl dies, we don't mourn Carl. We honor him by going on. We honor the Walking Dead characters. We go on in their legacy, but they will always be a part of the family, because they're gone but never forgotten. So once again, this is me, Rashted Dixon Vixen, signing off once again. And so happy holidays, and I will see you again in February for the mid-season premiere of The Walking Dead, Episode 8, Season 9, episode not titled yet. So I'll give you an update on that. So once again, happy holidays. Be safe. Don't drink text and drive and all that. And God bless.